Yeah, I'm going to tell it myself here, but you
Mm.
just described a lot of my practices with the cold plunge outside, my
Yeah.
workouts, my intermittent fasting, things like that. And
Yeah.
everyone who watches the podcast, they know I have ulcerative colitis. I was diagnosed in my 20s, landed in the
Yeah.
hospital, some nasty stuff, almost lost my large intestine, and I've been medicated for it. Literally just had a colonoscopy yesterday. That's what I'm
Yeah.
telling myself. But doctor, I wake up and the doctor's like, dude, colon looks great, you're good to go. And the nurses are baffled when I'm on the desk or on the stretcher because they're asking, do you do this? They're like, you're very healthy. And to your point, I control what I can control. I don't
Yeah.
have to rely on certain methods because I take care of myself in a holistic way through
Yeah.
dieting and cold plunging and workouts and applying the pressure.
One more time. Did your ancestors eat as many processed foods as you are given as an American, especially an American who lives in the South? Like growing
Yeah.
up in Texas, man, chicken fried steak was like you took that with your vitamins. You covered it in gravy and you ate it at Sunday after church every single time. That's what you just did because you grew up in Texas, man. You slathered barbecue sauce all over the barbecue because I grew up in Texas, and that was just what I was known, like high sodium, extremely high caloric meals. And then later on was when I started eating food that was less processed. Then I started noticing that my health was better. And it's so funny how my doctor would never give me this advice. I have an autoimmune disorder, but I was given Enbrel for my autoimmune disorder. And what I told my doctor was like, yeah, I started eating paleo and now I don't have any of those symptoms anymore. And they don't write any of this down. They don't care. Like none of the feedback that they get from their patient means anything because they're told autoimmune disorder equals Enbrel. You need to give them Enbrel or Humira. That's what you do for an autoimmune disorder, period. And it's like, what if they just eat paleo and they just stop having the inflammation? No, that can't possibly be the answer because that's not what the pharmaceutical company told me to do. Right. And so you have doctors who are really good people who study very hard, but they don't want to rock the boat and they end up becoming automatons. And they start prescribing you a pill for everything. And then when you end up like curing yourself, I just never understood why my rheumatologist is just never asking me about my diet. Ever asking me about my diet. I've never understood why endocrinologists never ask you about your diet. They're just like, hey, yeah, my total testosterone's in the 200s because I'm eating like shit. And it's like, well, 200 is in the normal range. Normal range for what? What if I want to fuck my wife, bro? 200 nanograms per deciliter. You think that's the normal range for a 32-year-old man? What is wrong with you? Anytime you leave an endocrinologist's office or a urologist office and they let you leave out of there with your testosterone levels in the 200s, those people should lose their medical license. You should lose your license to practice if you let a man leave your office with a 200 total testosterone limit. You should have your license taken from you if that ever happens. And so that's what I'm seeing more and more. We just gotten to that point, and it's like ancestrally, of course, I eat a more wholesome diet that is less processed. Of course, intermittent fasting. My ancestors wouldn't have been like, "Hey, split your meal up into 6 meals per day." It's like they don't have refrigeration. When they got food, they gorged the food. They ate as much as they could, as quickly as they could. They would eat maybe, if they were lucky, once a day, and had limited levels of protein that they were able to eat from. So that's what I do. I push my first meal. I eat breakfast at 5 p.m. Some people are like, that's crazy. There's no way to do it. Try it for a while. Your body goes into what's called ketosis and you start burning the fat more quickly. It's like, because that's what your ancestors did. It's hard for people to go out and walk around in sunlight for 45 minutes every day. Like, why would I do that? Because that's what your ancestors did. And when you do so, all of a sudden you started noticing all of these maladies, these diseases, these maladaptions, because you weren't designed for 2024. You weren't, especially if you live in a place like Los Angeles. The air quality there is absolutely atrocious. And you don't understand why you're having all these why your skin is itchy and all this, and you're growing man. Why am I growing man boobs in my 30s? It's because you're breathing in estrogen. That's the reason why, because you live in places like that. You're drinking out of plastic water bottles. You were not adapted for this society. So when you do those things that help with your adaptation, tomorrow I have a podcast coming out on the 9th of October with Kasif Khan. And he goes over all these things, how your genetics you were not genetically created in order to say, consume grains or consume lactose or consume gluten. You weren't able to do those things. So the closer we can get to your what your Pleistocene ancestors were living, the closer you get that, the healthier you'll feel, the longer you will last, the longer your organs will remain healthy. And I just don't understand why whenever I explain this to a medical professional, they don't want to hear it. And yet I'm 47 years old. out here
You look
running
30
all
something.
day playing. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm out there. I'm 47 years old playing basketball every day, and they don't ask me how I'm doing it ever. And you're like you said before, you're sitting, you have colitis, and the nurses are like, "Wow, you look extremely healthy." Yeah, that's correct, because you live in North Carolina, where the average diet is probably massive levels of sodium and processed foods, and they're used to
And sweet
seeing
tea.
obese people and sweet tea, and they're used to seeing obese people. In the obesity rate in this country, we're in the 40 percentile now. That's madness.
Yeah.
How is nobody
Yeah.
saying that that's the issue? The answer is not Lexapro. The answer is to eat things. The answer is to honestly choose Chipotle over McDonald's. Say whatever you want about Chipotle. It is a great place to eat paleo. If you want to eat paleo, Chipotle is a way better place to eat paleo than some of these other. If you're going to eat fast food, then I would go with Chipotle over anything else, right? So that's what I would say. You see all these guys that are fitness guys and they eat Chipotle like fucking 4 times a day. Right.
All
That's
the
what's
time.
going on.
Yeah.
So I would recommend intermittent fasting, cold plunge, or intermittent sauna or steam room. I would a 5-day workout splits, tear your muscles up. And then the other thing I would say is if you're over the age of 35, because of the estrogens you've been exposed to throughout your life, the feminization of men, and I don't mean that as some sort of like red pill dogma or political conspiracy. It's literally called in biology, the feminization of men, when estrogens are being added to your diet and your testosterone levels are dropping, which we know these things to be true. Go out to a TRT clinic, get your testosterone levels checked, and make sure that you are in an unhealthy low range. You need to be near the high level. The high level of the range is what's optimal. You do so, you're going to notice your life change. Your life is going to absolutely change. You're going to thank me. You're a totally different reality.